Previously, he sold residential and commercial real estate in New Haven County in the late 80s and early 90s, after which he was a property manager of 10 shopping centers in New Haven County for Colonial Properties. He was the senior leasing representative for Subway World Headquarters in Milford, Connecticut, and he helped negotiate 1,400 leases in 14 states in 2.5 years. I don't know how you sandwich that in. We've all seen his trucks and signs out there, you know, Regan Enterprises, buildings that he built, and so on and so forth. He's been at that since 1994 as a construction development firm. And he gives back to the community. He's on the current Board of Trustees of Mystic YMCA and formerly on the Board of Trustees of Pine Point School. So, Chris, please.
Thanks for everybody showing up this morning, making the effort to come out. I don't have any prepared speeches. My mother told me never to do that. So basically, I want to give you the history of my family in regards to the downtown area. My grandfather came here in 1950, 51, sat on old man Drostik's porch and negotiated to buy his pig farm. And my grandfather went out with his hip boots, kicked the mud, and said I could build a shopping center here. That was the first shopping center that was built in London County. And during his heyday, he was considered one of the biggest developers on the East Coast. So I've watched, as a kid, downtown thrive with the Magic Mile. I don't know if everybody remembers the Magic Mile, but when they had a sidewalk sale, you couldn't find a parking spot in downtown. And so, you know, we watch the evolution of politicians. And no disrespect to any politicians, I'm not trying to offend anybody. But in regards to everybody sitting back and resting on the laurels of our big employers, which I'm glad you guys are in our town. But we need to look at focusing on other businesses to bring here, to bring the millennials here, to give them a reason to come to Groton. Right now, it is an uphill battle. I'll give you a history. I've been doing this for 25, 26 years, trying to get people to come to Groton for retail. They go to Waterford because they want to see where the regional mall is, and that's where the retailers want to be. Well, if you look at it, we've got the biggest population in London County, we've got the biggest employers, and we have the most apartments in New London County, in Groton. That, for me, tells we have a market. So, back in 1991, Bob's Furniture started in Newington, Connecticut. I called Bob Kaufman in 1992 and said I had wine shops that just went out of business. I have a location for you. I gave him the reasons why he should come to Groton. He says, it's not a market for me. That's not where I want to be. 3 years later, where do you think he was? He was in New London, then went to East Lyme, then went to Norwich, and built a mega warehouse. Do you imagine if that came to Groton? The jobs that we would have. Near misses, okay? So I'll give you another one. And I had Kmart that wanted to come to Groton. I was going to put them on Drostik's property. And I was working with the former town planner, Jim Butler. And we were going to build, well, Jim said we can only build 78,000 square feet. They wanted 123,000 square feet. So the center next door was 40% occupied. So I called them up. There's a pension fund out of New York. And so I called them up, said, I have 3 properties. We'll do a tax-free exchange, great NOIs. We want to buy your shopping center. Pension fund says, well, in our portfolio, we always have to have some losers in our portfolio. So basically, it was a near miss for us. We could have gotten something changed. They wanted to take the whole center and knock it down. Well, that didn't happen, okay? Here's another near miss. The Pfizer, not the Pfizer, but the EB's location, where they bought the old Caldors, where Pfizer had the property. I called that developer, this was back in the probably early 90s, and said, I have somebody that's interested in your property. He says, I have Caldors and ShopRite. Why do I want to sell? Okay. So 6 months later, he loses both tenants. He calls me up and says, you interested in having your individuals interested in the property? I said, when you drive up from Westport, look to the left when you get to Waterford. That's the Home Depot. Okay? Sonless was another one that wanted to come to Groton. They went to Waterford. So a lot of these things, for me, I'm very passionate about development. And when it comes to Groton, I have history. 65 years of my family's history is here, just like the village. Perfect example, smart development. I had lunch with John Holstein. He says, I have a set of plans for you. You might want it. I opened it up, 1964. I said, Martin Olson, that's my grandfather. Looked down, it was a plan of Olmsted Village as an enclosed mall. Now, if that was an enclosed mall, what would that look like any other exit in Connecticut? Okay? So my grandfather said, Plan B, we're building the village. Thank God he did, because that basically gives us an identity in our area for Mystic. But for Groton, with regards to the William Seeley School, I am dead set against that project because it's not smart development. When you talk about building something, you start from the core, you build out. You don't go like this and say, I'm going to put development here, 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 and then try to fill it in with mishmash in the middle. It doesn't work. It's not smart development. William Seeley School, and I'll throw this idea out there, should go to like a YMCA that would give the kids an area to go to. It's conducive to a residential area. It's not commercial development that we're all going to cannibalize each other. You're going to have vacancies throughout the town when you try to do this, okay? Now, another thing that I'd like to see in the town is a train stop. For the life of me, how do we not have a train stop in Groton? You got the Navy base, the sailors. I see them walking down Route 12. What do you think's taking taxis over to London to take the train? You want development? I'll tell you right now, I have a REIT that I met with. I'm going to the ICSC convention in Vegas on Sunday. And this is the biggest convention for all retailers in the country. And they basically told me, you get a train stop, you'll get $300 to $400 million worth of development. You want taxes? That's what's going to give your tax base. I tried to do this. They've done all these studies, going back to Foot Days as the mayor. Going to, the same thing. Talks about downtown being the center of development. That road going through our center is not the town road. We put it in. We didn't ask for any tax breaks. We put in the green that's on there. The people think it's a town green. It's our property. It's not done by the town. So we care what happens in the town. And it's very, very frustrating where everybody has their own agendas. And I think when I look at stuff that happens around town, I don't get really involved. This is the second meeting I've ever been to. And shame on me, I should be at these meetings. But with regards to Groton, you need to have one Groton. You need identity. The identity is not the city and it's not the town. It's one Groton. You have to do one Groton. If we don't have clout, period. Because you guys are fighting amongst each other in the papers, in the media. It doesn't work. And we're duplicating services. We need to basically start cutting. In the private sector, when the economy hit, we cut and try to be more efficient, which helps us when we prosper. But in regards to creating more jobs in town, I'll give you an example. The SEC TV, the town fought them because they wanted the revenue. from the cable. And that went on, and I'm not sure what the exact number is, but I heard was $50,000 in attorney's fees, which we don't have money to spend like that, not in this economy. And I think, for me, I want to see a mixed use. I could put a big box tenant on the property I've tied up next to our shopping center. I don't want to do that. I'd like to see a mixed-use development where it's going to have an impact. We have a train stop. I guarantee there'll be a mixed-use development. There's going to be millennials living downtown. I mean, the Ledger's apartments, it's 338. They have great occupancy. That's huge. That's economic dollars that are staying in our town. And I don't know how we get their employees to want to live in Groton. We have to do something. And it's got to come from the town. The town has to be a partner with the public and private sector to do a project like this. Happens all around the country. Every time I go to these conventions, I hear all these towns, how they figure out how they're booming. And that's what we need to really figure out as a town, how we're going to go in what direction. Because you know what? What I've been watching for my 51 years being around here, well, not when I'm 1 or 2, but I've been watching this, and it's always near misses, and we can't get it. We've got to figure a way. There has to be a way to make it happen. The building department in town of Groton, love working with them. I wish John Reiner and Paige Bronk. Paige is probably the first one that has reached out in the economic development to me in 26 years, other than me having to call them. And I hope we're going in the right direction for the town of Groton. Thank you.